Hey everyone, how's it going? So you've probably heard about what happened recently. It made kind of a big splash, but I thought I might as well talk about it anyways. So Assassin's Creed Shadows, Ubisoft just recently announced it. It takes place in feudal Japan, and it features two protagonists. One is a female shinobi named Naoe, the other is the samurai Yasuke, who was an actual person who existed and served under Oda Nobunaga in the 16th century. And the controversy is centered around Yasuke and him being a playable character. So there are actually many layers to this criticism, so let's go through them. So the most surface level criticism is about Yasuke being called a samurai. Now, I've known about Yasuke's existence for a while, but it was thanks to this controversy that I learned he actually wasn't a samurai. He was a retainer slash sword bearer. The proper Japanese term for that would be kosho, which is the equivalent to a page or a squire in European medieval terms. So he wasn't a samurai, but they're calling him a samurai, and so that's what people are taking issue with. I have seen some people claim that kosho were technically considered a kind of samurai, that kind of social status was more flexible for that specific time period, and I feel like this is going to be one of those things that is going to be debated for a while. I'd honestly love to see some actual Japanese historians weigh in on this. It'll be interesting to see how this unfolds, though for the time being, I'm of the mind that Yasuke was a kosho, and there isn't any historic text describing him specifically as a samurai. What's concerning, though, is the Wikipedia edit wars that started over the game's reveal, with people trying to edit Yasuke's article to say he was a samurai, despite having no evidence that he was one. I mean, that's just fucking insane. Honestly, my take so far on the advertisement stuff is the reason they called him a samurai is similar to why they called the other character a female shinobi, when that is not what they were called. They were called kunoichi. I honestly couldn't imagine them advertising the game with play as a kosho and a kunoichi. Those are terms that Western audiences are just not that familiar with. I wasn't familiar with them before this. On a deeper level than that, there are people complaining that on top of the samurai title stuff, that Yasuke is one of the playable characters in the game. You gotta realize that Yasuke is going to be the first ever playable historic figure in the series' history. And people are complaining that instead of going with a more well-known figure, they went with someone who we know very little about. And of course there are those who are claiming that they made this choice because of Yasuke's race. I mean, personally, I think choosing someone whose history isn't well known gives more room for creative freedom with a character, but at the same time I sorta get it. Like, if I was to come up with a male protagonist for this Assassin's Creed game set in Japan, I don't think my mind would jump to Yasuke first. Going with a Japanese guy would be like the first logical choice, I believe. Some people have pointed out how the other games in the franchise have protagonists whose ethnicity match the setting, and in response some have pointed out that Black Flag takes place in the Caribbean and you play as a Welsh dude. That one to me still kind of makes sense. I mean, if you look up 18th century pirates from the Caribbean, you'll get a lot of pictures of white dudes. What matters to me more is the fact that one of the games takes place in Constantinople after the Ottoman Empire took over, and you play as an Italian guy and a Middle Eastern guy. As a Turkish man, I ask, where is my Ottoman assassin, Ubisoft? The funniest thing, though, is people going, why can't I play as a Japanese person in this game set in Japan? I mean, you can play as a Japanese person. She's right there in front of Yasuke. Some people have said that Naoe must be the stealthiest assassin in the series because everyone just seems to ignore that she's there. The historical accuracy debate around Assassin's Creed Shadows has been insane. People are bringing up how the series hasn't always been that historically accurate. I mean, Da Vinci makes you assassin gear, there's magical artifacts, you fight a god and shit. And people have also brought up the game Nioh, where you play as a white guy in Japan. One thing that pisses me off is people just making shit up about Yasuke, that Nobunaga only took interest in him because of his skin color and he was treated as a curiosity and a slave. Yasuke was said to be a strong man and would have towered over everyone with his height. He was given a house and a stipend, and because of his title would have served by Nobunaga's side. That isn't a position you just give to anyone. You wouldn't just let some random person carry your sword. And then of course, in between all of this, you got the people who are just straight up racist, because of course there are. You know, it begs the question, would the people who have been complaining that Yasuke is playable complain if it was a white samurai that really existed instead? Would the people who are okay with Yasuke being playable complain if it was a white historical figure instead? I mean, when is it okay to have playable characters whose race don't fully match the setting and time period? There's a discussion to be had about this, and yet instead of sitting down and thinking about it, people are just being fucking stupid. Waging edit wars on Wikipedia, downplaying Yasuke's role, claiming that the title Assassin's Creed Shadows is invoking racist overtones. I mean, talk about a reach. Look, In the end, the game is probably going to be mid anyways, and they're selling special editions for $130 and people are pre-ordering it without seeing any gameplay, and it's a single-player game with a fucking season pass. It's sad that these facts are being glossed over because of this whole controversy. To be honest, this whole thing has just really rotted my fucking brain. Anyways, I do wonder what the reception from Japanese people will be about this. From what I've heard, it's kind of mixed, but we'll see more eventually. And to reiterate my own point, I'm just very neutral about this. I think it's strange that they're only just making a historical figure playable now after so many years, but I don't know, I just don't have much interest in the game itself to really care that much. Anyways, that's it from me. Take care and stay safe.